Hello, and welcome to the Be Smart About Art show. My name is Susan J. Mumford. I'm the founder of Be Smart About Art and the host of this segment, in fact, the series. Now, the Monday edition is always the art world this week, and so that's what I'm here to deliver you. Now, here we are on the 6th of April, 2020, a number of weeks now into this pandemic, and things are happening. Different people are going through very, very different experiences. And the world does keep moving, and creativity is something that is in human nature. So we make certain that we do create things and we're creative. So I've got three pieces of news highlights for you this week. The first one is looking at protecting art during lockdowns. That's something that had not occurred to me, and I think that's quite fascinating. So that one's coming out from artnet.com. Also, recreating your own masterpieces and sharing on social media, potentially getting some visibility yourself. That is quite fascinating, and that is from the Good News Network, or goodnewsnetwork.org. And last but not least are the top 5 offline art exhibitions that you can now see online, and that is on fadmagazine.com. That was written by dear colleague Tabish Khan. So it's really great to see that he's putting together some reviews of shows that you can see from the comfort of your bedroom, studio, what have you. So let's firstly look at this piece on pieces that might go missing, artwork that some big collectors' museums are needing to protect. I mean, it's really crazy. The piece itself is by Naomi Ray. It's from April 1st, so do look at artnet.com. Here's the headline image there. You can hopefully see that on your screen. It reads, "It was only a matter of time. As art galleries, museums around the world began shuttering for an indefinite period in the name of public health, nefarious actors were gearing up to exploit the unprecedented situation. One museum director's worst fear was realized when opportunistic thieves made off with a prized Van Gogh painting from a small institution in the Netherlands. Shocking, isn't it? The theft was the first high-profile example of a lockdown-related art heist, and threw into stark relief the fact that collections everywhere need to brace themselves against further attempts. Smaller institutions and empty private homes, so any collectors here watching, do bear this in mind, with museum caliber collections are particularly vulnerable, but larger institutions are not infallible and should also take time to review their security measures. I mean, quite tricky in the current circumstances when you don't really want to be, say, sending individuals out in terms of security, unless they can keep their distance from people. And then you can imagine if somebody's doing an art heist right now. I mean, all you'd have to do is like run up really close to a person. You'd want to just run away. So this is very challenging. With limited physical staff on the ground, there we go, and preoccupied emergency services, quite right, slower to react, the chances of thieves escaping with irreplaceable treasures is a real risk, even for the most sophisticated institutions. We consulted, this is the magazine, leading secure ArtNet news. So I'll start over. We consulted leading security experts on their tips for how museums can guard themselves against theft during lockdown. So I'm just going to summarize a few key points. And seriously, anybody out there who is a collector, if you know collectors, maybe pass on the fact that this article does exist, because it does give some good insight. We've got updating your insurance policies. Insurers and insurance brokers are very busy right now, but do talk with them. One person from Art Recovery International, that's Christopher Marilano, who is the chief executive, says, "I am concerned that in the rush to make their collections digitally accessible to the public during the lockdown, some museums forgot to lock the door." And then he adds, by this, of course, I mean take extra measures to secure the collection. CCTV and alarms do very little when law enforcement is occupied with health issues and unable to respond to the call as they would normally. So that really does go to show that the insurance is important. And Marinello adds that he recommends that owners review their existing security measures to ensure that all systems are functioning properly. Will the alarms go off at the right time, etc., etc. So, and in terms of insurance policies, it's always important to review them at least once a year anyway. That's whether you're running a business or it's your personal art collection or whatever it is. Situations and circumstances change. And if you move, that would be a great time to review an insurance policy as well. We also, as a second point, have brace for cyber attacks. The physical security of museums and galleries is not the only thing at risk right now, as more galleries have rapidly transferred their day-to-day business operations to the digital marketplaces. There has been an uptick in cybercrime across all industries, and the often less than tech-savvy art world particularly needs to guard itself against attacks. And interestingly, when we had Adam Prideaux from Hallett Independent in to be our guest speaker for one of the Be Smart Cass Art talks that we were running in a nice ongoing series of talks, this was about 15, 16 months ago or so, he was saying that the big risk that art galleries and others in the industry have today is cyber attacks. And so it sounds like that's even more the case now. Beware. And if you are not sure about what to do about that, get in touch with an IT provider, somebody maybe locally in your community who can help you. Digital security measures must be in place, Marinello says. While some idiot art thieves are still outside scoping out museums and galleries, others are plying their illicit trade by hacking into gallery websites, using phishing scams to gain access to invoice records, even hacking into Zoom and other online conference sites. So you do indeed need to be very careful about that. Okay, deterrence and physical barriers. In terms of the physical threats collections face, one thing that's emphasized is the importance of deterrence. Visible security cameras and signage indicating the presence of cameras can be powerful enough to put a criminal off, as can basic interventions such as bright lighting. Just thinking outside my house, I've got a wind chime, and I was researching over the weekend. I was like, what's the origin of wind chimes? And I was going, surely this is something that people back in the day would have loved as a deterrent for animals or maybe even thieves or something. So I'm just thinking about different things that you can actually have. And it does turn out that I think in Roman days that wind chimes were being used to ward off kind of evil spirits. So there was actually something in that. So I can also think about private collectors and small institutions with really fantastic art collections, thinking of all different kinds of things that you can have that will be a deterrent. Bright lights, bit of a shame. It can be light pollution. So maybe something that comes on when there's movement. That's just my take. Talk to a security advisor for your individual circumstances. And of course, if it's out in the middle of nowhere, perhaps that's not as much of a concern. But we are thinking about the environment as well. And temporary barriers for entry is also noted in here. Now, a silver lining, these guidelines are good rules of thumb in any time. As Special Agent Chris McCoe from the FBI's art crime team in New York City tells ArtNet News, museums are always at risk of theft carried out by those who are well prepared and determined to steal, regardless of the circumstances. But there might be a bright side to the lockdown. A lot of downsides as well, as we know. While it makes sense to take preventative measures, some experts, like McCoe, that's McKeoghh, interesting. Maybe I guess it's the Scottish name, it sounds like, believe that despite the incident in the Netherlands, museums could actually prove to be more secure during this period. Most museums are closed to visitors but are still staffed by security. A reduced number of outsiders in the museum cuts down on the risk of crimes of opportunity. So very interesting. Think about how that applies to your personal circumstances. Now, something I've always wanted to do, I'm going to do right now. Right, I'm done with that. So the next one is, this is the second of 3 articles, or big pieces of news rather. Isolated art lovers are recreating masterpieces using everyday objects. Now, all you need to do is to go into Instagram and check out the Getty Museum. I think it's at Getty Museum. So yes, that's right. I've got it right in front of me. What people are doing is they are recreating masterpieces and putting them side by side and posting those babies onto Instagram. And they are absolutely fantastic. It's also on Twitter, where I've been looking at Instagram. Look at that. We've just got so many of these beauties. So have fun. What's a masterpiece that you really love? And needless to say, think about copyright. If it's an older piece, probably not a problem. Right. And last but not least, So that was a to-do for your to-do list. The final piece here is the top 5 offline art exhibitions that you can now see online. Fantastic work to @London Art Critic, friend and colleague Tabish Khan. As it says here, he normally brings you the top art exhibitions to see each week, given that most galleries are shut due to current COVID-19 health crisis. Each week, he will now be bringing you, for the foreseeable future, a different top 5 to enjoy while in self-isolation. To find those, look at fadmagazine.com. This week is exhibitions that are installed in physical spaces which may be viewed online. Next week, he'll be covering online-only exhibitions. So think about your own marketing campaigns. What are you putting online? Send what you're doing to Tabish, and as much as possible, you can try to see what he is up to at the time. So the first exhibition he's got is James Turrell at Pace London. And he says, standing in front of a James Turrell lightwork is a mesmerizing experience I didn't think could be replicated online. But scroll down this page of installation views, and some start to pulse and change color. I initially thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, and I started to see the changes in the still images as well. I didn't think the effect of Turrell's work could be replicated online, yet the gallery has pulled it off. So really well done to Pace and to James Turrell on that. Secondly, we've got Rafal Zajko, and that's Resuscitation at Castor Projects, CASTOR Projects. And this says, looking like a cross between a futuristic medical lab and a time capsule, this installation comes alive through performance that involves a ventilator and lots of smoke. Doesn't that seem timely? A short video is a great way to come to grips with a show where performance links to it. So there we are. Thirdly, on his list is Antony James at the Opera Gallery. Lights, mirrors, and angles. A fly-through of this exhibition does a great job of showcasing the hypnotic works of Antony James. So there was the Rafal, and there's the Antony James, just giving you some sense on my little black and white printouts here. Lose yourself in the infinities in Antony James' work within his optical illusions. 4 of 5. 4 is Sarah Lucas, Honey Pie at Sadie Cole's. Giant phalluses, lots of breasts, and contorted limbs. Sarah Lucas brings her latest creations into a massive space lit by monumental concrete walls. It closed just after it opened, and there are quite a few shows that got into that position, and a lingering video allows us to examine each playful work closely in the space of a few short minutes. So there you go. And then the last but not least, there we go, is Sistine Chapel in Rome. There are boatloads of museums and galleries that can be viewed remotely, including many through the Google Arts and Culture website, which I mentioned last week. However, my favorite to view remotely is the Sistine Chapel, because to visit in person is to be shepherded through at speed without the chance to appreciate its beauty. In the virtual world, there are no people in the way, and you can take all the time you want. That's making me think about all of the places we might be able to visit and not have loads and loads and loads of tourists. Just that's just so maddening. I'm sure that you're with me. It can be really crazy because you're there to have an experience, to visit this place that's really, really special. And then suddenly you have all these people flashing, and maybe even doing video. I've experienced that a lot in recent years, and I actually sometimes find it quite upsetting. Thank you very much for tuning in to this show, the Be Smart About Art show, the Art World This Week. I'll be very curious to know where the art world is this time next week. So do keep an eye on Tabish's top 5 each week. That's fantastic that he's doing that. And go find some masterpieces, take some images of yourself, put them next to the masterpiece, send them over to the Getty Museum, see if they'll repost them. And certainly, if you have an art collection or anything that you think does need to be looked after, if you know of anybody who has something that they might want to be thinking about, you can chat with them, because it is an interesting point. Hadn't occurred to me yet. So I will be back this time next week with what's happening in the art world this week. And as for the rest of this week, we will be on the show tomorrow talking about the business of art. And then on Wednesday, we'll be talking about art, Be Smart About Art question time. So that's the weekly segment in which members send in their questions for me, and I will do my utmost to answer them in a 15-minute time period. And then on Thursday is the guest speaker edition. So that always happens once a week as well. Do check out the membership community on patreon.com, besmartabountart. And in terms of watching this video, be sure to look in the comments and select get a notification every time that we go live so that you are more able to see when the show does go on air. Some of the times are going to be slightly changing over the weeks. We're just fine-tuning the schedule, and all of this is made possible because of the Be Smart About Art program, which does thrive based on member support. We are not funded, so do check out what we're doing at besmartabountart.com, and as I mentioned, patreon.com. Our theme at the moment is to keep it simple and supportive, and that is meaning that we have only got one membership tier. We are bringing everyone together. We've been running this program for 8 years now, and further to that, we're encouraging you to be supportive of others and ask for support when you need it as well. At this point in time, it is vital that everyone is looking after one another, and we're here to help you throughout that journey. Thank you very much for tuning in as ever, and looking forward to seeing you again. Follow us across channels using the hashtag or @handle BeSmartAboutArt, and see you again soon. We're here to help you thrive in an ever and increasingly changing art world. I've been Susan J. Mumford. See you next time.